All right, hey guys, welcome back. We are reading Magic Treehouse, the Merlin missions. And we're on the first one, which is Christmas in Camelot. And we're joining them in chapter 8. We're joining Jack and Annie in chapter 8, which is called The Other World. The Other World. All right, here we go. They had just landed in the treehouse. The other world was completely different from the dark, cold world Jack and Annie had just left behind. They were standing at the edge of a pale green meadow. The meadow was bathed in warm, rosy sunlight. 3 horses. There was one black, one brown horse, and one gray horse. They were grazing nearby. On a hillside beyond the meadow, they could see red and purple flowers, sparkling like bright buttons. "It's so nice here," said Annie. "Yeah," said Jack. "Maybe we don't need this anymore." He pulled the hood of the cloak off their heads. He was relieved to see Annie's face again and to see himself. "What was that first rhyme again?" asked Annie. Jack took out his notebook. He found the first rhyme and read aloud. "Beyond the iron gate," he said, "the keepers of the cauldron wait." He looked around warily. "I wonder where the keepers of the cauldron are," he said. "What do you mean?" asked Annie. "We just sneaked past them. Remember whoosh?" "I don't know," said Jack. "The rhyme says beyond the iron gate. Those guards were standing in front of the gate. They weren't beyond it." "Shh," said Annie. "Listen." From over the hill came the faint sounds of sweet, joyful music. "Maybe the keepers of the cauldron are playing that music," said Annie. "Maybe," said Jack. He listened for a moment, and then he smiled. Wow, the music made him feel really light and happy. "Let's go meet the keepers," said Annie. "Not so fast," said Jack. "Shouldn't we be invisible again, just in case?" "I guess so," said Annie, sighing. Jack pulled the hood of the cloak back over their heads, and then together they started walking invisibly across the soft meadow. They passed the 3 horses, and they climbed the flower-covered hill. At the top, they looked down. "Oh, man," said Jack. The hill sloped gently down into a misty green glade. In the middle of the glade, a band of musicians played flutes and pipes, drums and violins. Around the band, hundreds of dancers danced in a huge circle. "The keepers of the cauldron," said Annie. Dancers and musicians were smiling and laughing. They wore blue coats and green coats, white gowns and yellow gowns. They wore sparkling red slippers and hats with colored feathers. The dancers looked like people, except they all had glittering gold skin and wings that shimmered in the mist like spun silver. "They're beautiful," said Annie. "Yeah, they are," said Jack. "I don't think we need to be invisible with them," said Annie. I think you're right," said Jack. He and Annie threw off the red cloak. They left it in the dewy grass, and they ran down the hillside to the winged dancers. The dancers paid no attention to them. They just kept going around and around in their joyous circle. "I feel like dancing with them," said Annie. "Me too," said Jack. It was strange. He was usually shy about dancing, but he wanted to join these dancers more than anything. Jack pulled off his backpack. As he set it down, he saw 3 swords lying in the grass. But he didn't stop to wonder about them. The music was calling him. The winged dancers broke their circle, and they welcomed Jack and Annie into their dance. Annie held Jack's right hand as he grasped the slender golden hand of the dancer on his left. The dancer smiled down at him. Like the others, she was as tall as a grown-up, but she didn't have any lines or wrinkles on her face. All the dancers looked very young, yet they seemed ancient at the same time. As Jack danced around in the circle, his heart leapt, his spirit soared. His glasses fell off, but he didn't even care. He kept dancing. As he danced, he forgot about everything in his mind. And his mind became a blur. He forgot about Morgan and Camelot. Oh, my dog's trying to get through. Here, Bear, go this way. Go ahead that way. He forgot about Morgan and Camelot. He forgot about the quest for the water of memory and imaginations. He forgot all his fears and all his worries. "Jack, look," Annie cried. Jack looked at her. "Hi," he shouted, laughing. Oh my gosh, and here's the greatest picture of them dancing. Wow. No, no, don't look at me, she called. Look there, look, across the circle. I can't see, he said. 3 knights, Annie shouted. 3 knights dancing. Great, shouted Jack. Yay! No, Jack said. No, Jack, Annie said. They look awful. They look sick, Annie yelled. She pulled away from the circle and tumbled back into the grass. Jack, she said, stop dancing. But Jack didn't want to stop. He wanted to dance to the wild music forever and ever and ever and never stop dancing. Oh my gosh. He just wanted to keep dancing. Very interesting. Chapter 9, The Lost Knights. The Lost Knights. Annie shouted around the circle. Stop, Jack, she said, stop dancing. She grabbed his shirt and she tried to pull him out of the dance. Let go, Annie, he said. Leave me alone. But Annie wouldn't let go of Jack. Finally, she pulled so hard that Jack broke hands with the dancers and he tumbled forwards into the grass. The winged dancers didn't seem to notice. They closed their circle back up and they kept going around and around. Why did you do that, said Jack. I was having fun, Annie. Look at the knights, said Annie. See them? Jack still couldn't see. He didn't have his glasses, and the world was spinning before his eyes. Oof. He ached to get back into the dance. Here, I found your glasses, said Annie, and she handed them to them. Put them on. Jack put on his glasses. He peered at the circle of dancers. He caught sight of armor glinting in the sunlight. He saw 3 knights dancing in a row. 2 of them looked very young. The third looked much older. As they came closer, Jack saw their faces. All the joy of the music had drained from them. They looked tired and sick. Their hair and beards were long and scraggly. Their faces were bony and pale. Their eyes stared wildly, and their lips were frozen in ghastly smiles. What's wrong with them? Asked Jack. They can't stop dancing, said Annie. They're almost dancing themselves to death. They must be the lost kings from Camelot, said Jack. Jack, we have to save them, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. He tried to clear his mind and think. What about this, he said. We get back in the dance and we take places between the dancers and the knights. Yes, then we can pull the knights out of the circle, said Annie. Wait, said Jack. What if I can't stop dancing again? Just don't let yourself get caught up by the music, said Annie. You have to think about something else. Think about why you're here. Think about Morgan. Okay, said Jack. I'll try. Jack and Annie crouched down in the grass. They watched and they waited as the knights danced closer and closer and closer. Now, shouted Annie. Jack and Annie rushed forward. They broke into the circle on either side of the knights. As Jack started dancing, his feet seemed to fly to the beat of the drum. He felt a wave of great joy. His worries left him. Now, Jack, said Annie, pull away. Uh-oh. But Jack didn't pull away. The music rang in his ears. Nothing mattered except the dancing. Jack, pull away now, said Annie. Jack shook his head, trying to shake off Annie's voice. No, no. Morgan, Annie yelled. Morgan. The word Morgan made Jack stumble a bit in the dance. Morgan, Morgan, shouted Annie again. Jack stumbled, then he used all his might to stop him from dancing. He let go of the hand of the dancer on his right, and what did he do? He threw himself out of the dance, pulling the knight on his left with him. Annie and the other 2 knights tumbled back with him onto the grass. Just as before, the dancers didn't even seem to notice. They closed up their circle and they kept on dancing around and around in their joyous, timeless dance. Chapter 10, The Knight's Gifts. The Knight's Gifts. The 3 knights lay in the grass, fighting for breath. The dance. We must stop dancing. We have to stop dancing, cried the older knight. You have stopped, said Annie. You pulled away. You did it. The knight looked up at her and Jack. He had a rough, craggy face. Who are you? He asked in a hoarse voice. Friend, said Annie. She spoke loudly to be heard over the music. We come from King Arthur's castle. We're on a quest, said Jack. To get the water of memory and imagination. To save Camelot, said Annie. Camelot? Whispered the knight. We came from Camelot. I don't recognize you. We're just visiting, said Annie, but we know all about you. You're Sir Lancelot, aren't you? Yes, breathed the knight. And Sir Percival and Sir Galahad, said Jack. Yes, my son, Galahad, said the knight. King Arthur thinks you are lost forever, said Annie. Sir Lancelot closed his eyes. The dance, he said. It made us forget. I know, said Jack. The dancers must be the keepers of the cauldron. You can't get past them without getting caught up in their dance. Father, we must find the water. Sir Galahad tried to sit up, but he was too weary. He lay back on the grass. That's okay. We're here now, said Annie. You all should just rest. Sir Galahad closed his eyes. Yeah, don't worry, said Jack. Annie and I will find the magic water for Camelot. But you are just children, said Sir Percival, the third knight. You must wait for us. There's no time to wait, said Jack. Camelot is dying, said Annie. We have to hurry. Then you must take this, said Sir Galahad. He reached into a leather pouch that hung around his shoulder. He took out a silver cup. With a trembling hand, the young knight gave the cup to Annie. A cup, she said. Take this too, said Sir Percival. He pulled a small wooden box from a bag that hung from his belt. He handed it to Jack. Jack opened the lid. In the middle of a box was a pointer with markings all around it. A compass, said Jack. And this, said Sir Lancelot. He took a silk cord from around his neck. A glass key hung from the cord. A key, whispered Annie. Lancelot handed the key to Annie. She and Jack looked at it closely. Then Annie hung it around her neck. When she turned back, all the knights were fast asleep. Sweet dreams, said Annie. You guys need a long nap. And here's the picture. The knights need a long nap. They've been dancing a very long time. Jack and Annie stood up. I think we have all our gifts now, said Jack, but I better make sure. So Jack hurried and got his backpack. It was lying in the grass, over near the knight's swords. He pulled out his notebook and he read the second rhyme. 4 gifts you will need, the first from me, then a cup, a compass, and finally a key. Great, said Annie. We got the cloak from the Christmas night, and then the other 3 gifts from them. The quest is really easy. Jack shook his head. It's not over yet, Annie. We still have to find the cauldron with the water of memory and imagination. We'll find it, said Annie. Read the 3rd rhyme, Jack. Jack looked in his notebook and read the 3rd rhyme aloud. If you survive to complete your quest, the secret door lies to the west. No problem, said Annie. We survived the guards and the dance. Now the compass can show us how to get west, and the key will unlock the secret door. And we'll fill the cup with the water from the cauldron. See, it's all really easy, Jack. Jack still felt worried. A little too easy, he thought. Jack looked down at the compass. Okay, he said. The pointer is pointing north, so west must be that way. He pointed left toward a thicket of bushes and small trees. Great, said Annie. Here, carry the cup in your pack. Jack put his notebook and the silver cup into his pack. Then he and Annie started into the thicket. They ducked under branches and they pushed past bushes. Thorns scraped their hands. Twigs snapped against their faces. Jack kept checking the compass. Could they really be searching in the right place? He wondered. What kind of door would they find in a tangled thicket? Listen, said Annie. It's so quiet now. The thicket had grown eerily silent. No birds called from the bushes. No music could be heard from the distance. Jack checked the compass once more. It says we're still going west, said Jack. I just hope this thing works. It works, said Annie. Look. Annie was holding back a leafy branch. She pointed to a rocky hillside beyond the thicket. Half the way up the hillside was a lodge. Between two giant boulders on the ledge was a shining glass door. All right, chapter 11, the Crystal Cave. The Crystal Cave. The secret door, whispered Jack. Yes, said Annie, look. Jack dropped the compass into his backpack. Then he and Annie scrambled through the bushes, and they climbed up the rocks to the glass door. Annie took Sir Lancelot's key from around her neck. She slipped the key into the keyhole. She turned the keyhole very slowly. Clink. Yippee, said Annie. She pushed open the door. Beyond the door was a huge, glittering cave. The floor, walls, and ceiling were made of clear crystal. Jack and Annie stepped inside. The cave was filled with dancing streams of purple light. It's so bright, whispered Jack. Where's all the purple light coming from? There, said Annie. She pointed to a crack on the far side of the cave. Let's go look and see where it's coming from. They crossed the cave and peered through the crack in the room. Along the brilliant crystal walls of the room were 4 doorways. In the far corner of the room was a fire. The fire blazed with leaping purple flames. Over the flames hung a gleaming cauldron. There it is, said Jack. Wow, said Annie, the cauldron. The cauldron with the water of memory and imagination. Excuse me. I know, whispered Annie, let's go. They squeezed through the crack, then they walked toward the gleaming cauldron. Jack reached into his pack and pulled out Sir Galahad's silver cup. The cauldron's too high, said Annie. We can't get to the water. Here, take this, said Jack, handing her the cup. Climb onto my back. He bent over and Annie climbed on piggyback. And then Jack shut up, kind of shakily. She was heavy. Hurry, he said. You're really heavy. I can't reach it, Annie said. A few steps closer. Jack staggered forward a few steps, stretching as far as she could. Annie reached again. She skimmed water from the top of the bubbling black cauldron, filling the silver cup. Got it, she whispered. Now set me down, slowly. Annie held the cup with both hands. Jack slowly bent his knees, and Annie climbed carefully off his back from the piggyback ride. They stared silently for a moment at the water of memory and imagination in the cup. It was clear and shimmering. Now we can save Morgan, said Annie. Just then, Jack smelled something really strange. What is that? It smelled like rotten seaweed. He heard weird gurgling sounds behind them, too. He and Annie turned around. Oh, my goodness. A giant, slimy, mud-colored creature crawled out through one of the doorways. The creature was long and scaly like a crocodile, but much, much bigger. It had wings that looked like they'd been spun from 1,000 spider webs. It had glowing red eyes and long curled claws. What do you think it is? What does that look like? Oof, or sound like? The creature opened its huge jaws. Strands of drool were dripping down from its sharp pointed teeth. The creature hissed, and hot blue flames shot out from its mouth. Another monster crawled through a different doorway, quickly followed by a third monster, and then a fourth monster. Yikes, said Annie. The real keepers of the cauldron, whispered Jack. All right. That was the end of chapter 11. Okay, we're going to do one more, chapter 12. So here we are, chapter 12. I just want to know what's going to happen, don't you guys? Fire with Fire, chapter 12. The 4 real keepers of the cauldron crawled closer to Jack and Annie, hissing and snorting and blowing blue fire. What do we do now, Jack? What do we do now? I don't know, said Jack. We're trapped. I have an idea, whispered Annie. Let's drink the water. It's the water of memory and imagination, right, said Annie? So maybe if we drink it, we can imagine a way to escape. That's crazy, said Jack. The keepers crawled closer and closer, snorting and blowing more blue flame and filling the air with their rotten stench. Okay, let's try it, said Jack. Annie took a sip from the silver cup. Then she handed it to Jack. His hands trembled as he put the cup to his lips and he took a sip. The water tasted sweet and bitter and spicy all at the same time. Jack gave the cup back to Annie. Now, Jack, imagine we're saved, she said. Jack closed his eyes. He tried to imagine being saved. He pictured the 4 keepers crawling back through their doorways. Okay, ready to fight, said Annie. Jack opened his eyes. What? Fight? Annie set the silver cup on the floor. Now, she said. Suddenly, Jack felt like he'd been hit by a bolt of lightning. His fears slipped away. He was filled with strength and fury. Without thinking, he lunged with Annie towards the wood fire under the cauldron, and then they each grabbed 2 long, straight branches from the cauldron. Here they are. So they grabbed the branches from the edge of the fire. They raised them high in the air. The branches blazed with purple fire like flaming swords. Aha! Jack and Annie shouted. The 4 keepers hissed louder than before and shot blue fire. Great big balls this time of blue fire exploded from their mouth and nostrils. Jack and Annie slashed the air with their fiery weapons, jabbing at the keepers. They fought fire with fire, blue flames with purple flame. Back, back, they shouted, get back! With each jab and shout, Jack felt stronger and braver, waving their burning branches. He and Annie drove the keepers toward the walls. The keepers' blue flames grew weaker and weaker, as if they were running out of fuel. Finally, one by one, each keeper shrunk back into the doorway from which it had come. When all the keepers had disappeared, Jack and Annie placed a burning branch in front of each of the 4 doorways to keep all the monsters from coming back out. Then they brushed their hands. Let's go, said Annie. Jack nodded. Annie carefully picked up the silver cup of water from the cauldron. Then she and Annie squeezed through the narrow crack and strode through into the bright crystal cave. They went through the cave and they stepped out into the daylight. The glass key was still in the keyhole. Jack calmly locked the door behind them and he handed the key to Annie. Then Jack's knees gave way and he sank to the ground. Oh, that was a good chapter. Okay, we're going to leave it there. End of chapter 12. And we'll come back for the end of the book, starting at chapter 13. I'm Callie. You can always click subscribe or like if you want to. And I'll be back soon to read you some more of Christmas in Camelot. All right, have a good day.